fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Heather D. Tune in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Loramie, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Tune in to the fish report.
Welcome, everyone, to another Fish Report Live. I'm Craig Fissinger. Sitting in tonight for Ken Francis is Fort Loramie golf and softball coach Brad Turner. Back in our sound room, of course, we have TK and Heavy D. We'll be joining those two guys here in just a little bit. But, Coach, welcome to Fish Report Live.
Thanks a lot, Craig. Really happy to be here.
Well, listen, we've had you on this show before as an interview. Never had you as a co-host, of course. Always excited when we to interview you, so it's good to have you tonight as a co-host. And I have to explain to our viewers, we actually go back a little ways, actually a long ways to growing up together as kids. And I was a little bit older than you, but do you remember back in the day?
Oh yeah, those good old days back at Fort Loramie Saunders Road. Yeah, what a great neighborhood. That was great.
I got a story now. Tell me if this was you or maybe your brothers, but I remember a story where we would always take like a cassette recorder, the old cassette tapes, and had like a $2 microphone, and we'd talk into this thing and record sports broadcast and play-by-play stuff, big-time wrestling. Was that you or was that your brother?
I'm thinking you might have me confused with my older and not as good-looking brothers, either Joe or Nick. But I do remember, Craig, you were one to introduce me to the George Michael Sports Machine.
Oh, of course, yeah.
This is no surprise to if anybody knew Craig as a younger guy. It's no surprise that this is a passion of his and something that he's into. So, the reporting thing, I don't remember that, but I sure as heck can believe it.
We went from a $2 microphone to like a $20 microphone, so look how far we've come.
We can't get any better than this.
All right, like I mentioned, you coach golf, you coach softball, so we're kind of getting you during the off season. But in high school sports, is there ever truly an off season now?
Well, as far as golf, not a
whole lot of golf.
Not a whole lot to do in the winter, especially in Ohio. Other than maybe having a conversation with a parent about maybe upping the ante and getting some better equipment. Golf memberships always make a good Christmas gift. Try to drop those hints to the kids and to the parents. But golf we'll hit that hard coming right around June. There's no restrictions on contact days with coaching golf, so you can get going, and we'll do that in June, and hopefully we'll have be able to build on some of the successes that we had this past year. But as far as softball, we're right on the verge of the season starting. First day for practice is February 22nd, and
right around the corner.
Yeah, we're right there. So I try to do my best to not even think about softball until at least Thanksgiving, and then the new year rolls over and you kind of get going a little bit more. Then there's a softball. Our state association puts together a great clinic on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, and that kind of jump starts the preseason for me. And there's a lot going on. You got equipment to order, bus requests, sign-ups. You don't want to be surprised by who's playing, who's not playing. But I try to get all that paperwork done well before the season starts, so that when practice does roll around, the focus is on the girls, getting them prepared for the season. And we're there. The warmer weather is on the way.
It's hard to believe you're talking about softball at the end of January, but I know baseball is kind of in the same position, and we are getting towards tournament draw for basketball, so we're starting to think about the postseason in basketball. And you're exactly right. Softball and baseball will be around the corner here before you know it.
Yeah, it's a great time of the year. Yep.
So, all right. Well, anyway, let's get things started. And one of the things we like to do on the show, Coach, every week is do a weekly poll question. And tonight's poll question kind of relates to backyard rivalries. Rushi had a couple big backyard rivalries last weekend, on Friday with Fort Loramie and then on Saturday with Versailles. So tonight's question relates to backyard rivalries. And why don't you read tonight's poll question to our viewers?
All right. Well, tonight the poll question for you folks to consider there at home is which is the best girls or boys backyard basketball rivalry in our area? Is it the Rushi Versailles matchup, the Fort Loramie versus Minster matchup, Sydney versus Lehman rivalry, or St. Mary's Walpock?
Yeah, there's 4 choices, and all 4 of those choices are from schools in our viewing area. So if you're watching us on your computer on the Fish Report Live page, you can scroll down, answer that poll question, and check the results out. If you're watching us on NK Telco or Game Face Ohio up in that Wapak St. Mary's area, we will have those results for you at the end of the show. All right, well, let's get things started, Coach. And I want to bring in the sound room right away. And I hate to break it to these guys, but guys, tonight we're not going to do the whole 5 for Fighting segment with Ken being off. We're going to skip that, but do have a couple topics so I want to go over. And we're just talking about backyard rivalries, and backyard rivalries, like any good backyard rivalry. Usually the refs take a beating. They take a beating during the game, and they take a beating after the game. I heard a little bit of that this past weekend after Rushie's 2 big games. And our guest host tonight here, Coach Turner, he's done a little bit of officiating. Now, TK, I know you like to get on the officials hard every once in a while. So, Coach, did you like officiating in big games? And what do you think about passionate fans, guys like TK that get on you?
Well, I'll clear a couple things up here. First of all, yes.
Well, there's a picture right there.
You see it there. I got thrust into service this past weekend. Had to come out of retirement. I haven't reffed in 10 years or so. But we were shorthanded at our junior high basketball tournament this past weekend, and thank God it was that picture that was up, and not another one that our esteemed athletic director Damon Smith put out on the Twitter universe.
Where you were in Gene?
Yeah, Gene.
I saw that one.
I was trying to, when I was reffing, it was the goal was to, if you make it through the game without being noticed, that's a good night. And when I walked on the court and being pulled out of the hallway essentially in jeans and wearing my red tennis shoes, I wasn't able to
you were
do
going
that.
to get noticed for that,
right? But no, as far as reffing those big games, and the passionate fans like TK, like you mentioned, when I was reffing, obviously the focus is not on the fans, and you're going to hear it, but I you ignore it the best you can. Rather than worrying about the fans, I tried to address the coaches. In basketball especially, the basketball coach sets the tone for the entire gymnasium. I mean, the players feed off of him or her, the fans feed off of him or her, and if they're riled up, so that's what you're going to have. So trying to address the coach, explaining again, I wasn't successful all the time, or I don't know, maybe never, but trying to at least address their concerns, their issues, talk them down, get them on board with how the game's going. That was always my attempt. But as a ref, you love those big games. I mean, if you're lucky enough to get one of those big rivalry games, believe me, the refs know it. They're enjoying it, and it's a thrill. It's an honor to do a big game like that.
That's what I've heard from other officials. That they like reffing in big games too. Why wouldn't you? You're
right.
in that. That's what you're in it for. And TK, what do you think about that philosophy of trying not to be noticed?
That's probably got to be the way to go, because it's about the game, and you want to keep the focus on the game. There are some refs out there that we've seen around that like to make it about them when they're making the calls. So I think we saw some of them over in Piqua over a holiday season maybe, but they do a decent job, but sometimes they get a little wound up too. So yeah, you've got to try and keep it on the game, and that's really what you're there for, the kids in the game.
Well, guys, like I mentioned, we had a couple of those big backyard rivalries at Rushi this past weekend with Fort Loramie again on Friday, Versailles on Saturday. A lot of emotion on the floor. I wanted to ask you guys, did you enjoy that? I mean, I heard a lot of it was passionate on both sides, and I wanted to know what you thought of those games.
I enjoyed both nights. I think Saturday night was a little more serious of an emotional night, but I think I liked the Friday night better because there's more than just the rivalry. There's always Shelby County League aspects to the game. So you usually see kids tighten up. Rushi, both games this year against Fort Loramie, led early, tightened up late, and it became a real game. So, there's always a little bit more on the line. So I enjoyed those kinds of games better, the Fort Loramie Rushi game than the Fort Loramie Versailles game.
How about you, Heavy D?
Let's take a trip back in Heavy D's time machine. We're going to go back about 60 years when Fort Loramie
60 years?
60 years when Loramie, or not farther, if not farther, Fort Loramie always played Rushi, and Rushi would call the Germans of Fort Loramie cabbage heads because they liked cabbage.
Okay.
And the Fort Loramie fans would call the Rushi, who was of French descent, they would call them frogs because it's a derogatory slang.
This is true.
I think stemming from the World War I or World War II.
We've got a history teacher here, so he can verify
So
this.
I want to clarify
Let
something.
this right out.
I want to clarify something to our viewers in the city of Versailles. When you come to a Russia game and you wear a frog outfit, basically you're calling your own self a frog. This is equivalent to someone from Minster calling a redskin a cabbage head. So you need to come up with something else for sales fans.
How about that history teacher? Is that if our viewers don't know, you're also a history teacher. So.
Yeah, but Craig, as guest host tonight, I'm going to let that one go. I'm good.
That's probably a good idea.
I'm good with staying out of that one.
All right, well, let's move on to the next subject. And like I said, our own Ken Francis isn't sitting in tonight, but I don't know if you knew this, but he can get a little animated on the show, a little bit excited about things. And about a month or so ago, we were talking about the whole subject of the number of divisions in the individual high school sports. And for example, football has 7 divisions, 7 state championships, and then you go to a sport like all the way down to girls golf that only has 2 divisions. Basketball has 4, softball has 4, but being a golf coach, being a softball coach, you experience some of that. And before we get into this, let's show you Ken's comments from about a month ago.
I mean, let's call Tim Stribe. We had him on our show a couple weeks ago, for gosh sakes. Maybe we can go to Tim and say, Tim, hey, come on, man, give us 7 divisions. How about 7 divisions in golf? How about 7 divisions in cross country? This is just ridiculous. It's so watered down anymore. All these teams, I mean, you've got, I agree. Let's go to more divisions in basketball. I think, Craig, it's all about the money that's going into the budget.
And that was our own Ken there. So I don't know what I want to get your thoughts on that. It's not so much Ken, but what he was talking about.
All right, I'll address the issue. All right, yeah, I think Ken's onto something. I mean, yeah, it does seem a little fuzzy math as far as having 7 state champions at the end of the year in football, and 3 in boys golf, 2 in girls golf, or the 4 that we're accustomed to in a lot of the sports. Basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball. And the cynical side of me agrees with Ken. It is like anything, like almost anything. It is about money, and that weekend down in Columbus generates a lot of money for the OHSAA, and it's not a whole lot different than any school's athletic budget. I mean, the big gates at the football games and the basketball games help drive everything for the other sports. I coach 2 sports that are not. We hemorrhage money. We don't make a dime on golf or softball, but we need that income from those other games. So it is what it is, and and it's because of that we have successful programs throughout the state and in other sports too. So
well, maybe we can start with basketball. Let's move that up to what do you say? Maybe 5, 6 divisions, and we'll try that. And then
I think a lot of schools in our geographical area would love to see some breakup of the divisions. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, well, that's going to take care of it for the first half of our show. Did forget to announce at the top of the show that we have a big interview coming up here in just a few minutes with someone you know very well.
I was really pleased. When Craig asked me to co-host, and found out that the guest was going to be my teaching colleague and coaching colleague at Fort Loramie, and Carla Siegel. I thought, this should be just fine. So, here coming back, we'll have Carla Siegel on the phone with us. Obviously, an incredibly successful coach. Got our Redskins rolling again this year, and right into the tournament draw this weekend. Got a big matchup on Saturday versus Anna. And with postseason looming, she's no doubt trying to get her team going where they've been 5 out of the last 6 years. So, and I know Carla's going to talk a lot about her team, but you may not realize this, Craig, but she's on the cusp of her own milestone. She is now 2 wins shy of tying her mentor Jane Puppelman from the most career wins at Fort Loramie. And, so again, she's not going to bring it up, and she's going to deflect it anyways. But, she's deserving of all the personal and professional accolades that she's done an incredible job at Fort Loramie, and we'll have a good conversation with her here when we come back.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Let's take a short break, and when we do come back, we will talk to Coach Siegel.
at the leaving van. Music starts at 8 o'clock. You can find us here every Wednesday night. It's usually the same cats every week, but I can't tell you all their names. A teacher, a cat, and a junkie, all waiting for time to play. Everybody here's got something that we're trying to leave behind. We're all a little broken, looking for a place to hide. Get no answers, don't ask any questions. We're all here just looking for a high. And we're all beautifully broken here tonight.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second half of Fish Report Live. We're here with guest host and coach Brad Turner from Fort Loramie, and we're going to go over the SCAL girls basketball standings. Before we do that, Coach, one subject that's been kind of hotly debated on this show in the past is the whole, when did the SCAL go from the SCL to the SCAL, and when did that happen? Why did it happen? We can't figure it out.
Somewhere along the line, we bought a vow. I don't know when it happened. Growing up as a kid, going through, it was Shelby County League, SCL champs, all SCL, SCL, and somewhere within the last 5-10 years, we've morphed into the SCAL. Whatever. Whatever you call it. It's a great league. It's a special thing. The home and home schedule that it offers. For those of us that grew up in the Shelby County League, we don't realize that that's not normal. Most leagues don't do that. So I think that's a really neat feature. But you got 7 schools, similar size, similar passion, similar community support. It's close. I mean, when your longest trip to a league game is 20 minutes, that's a beautiful thing. So, Shelby, whatever you want to call it.
All right.
It's all good.
Good stuff. Well, let's look at the girls' standings here real quickly, and there they are. If you look on top, we got Anna still in number 1. They're in a current 7-game winning streak. Their only loss of the season this year was to Minster back on January 5th. Fort Loramie all by themselves there in second place, 2 games ahead of third place Jackson Center. Lady Redskins got a big league win on Tuesday night over Russia, and that actually sets up a huge showdown on Saturday, as Coach Turner mentioned a little bit earlier, between number 2 state-ranked Division III Anna and the number 10 ranked Division IV Fort Loramie Redskins. And live on the phone to talk about it with us right now is the head coach of the Lady Redskins, Carla Siegel. Coach, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Craig and Brad. It's good to be here.
All right, well, listen, we have Coach Turner in the studio tonight, a guy I know that you know very well, and we were just going over the league standings and mentioned you picked up a big win on Tuesday night over Russia. Coach, I was there. I was incredibly impressed with your balance on your team, and I want to know, how do you go through successful seasons like you do year after year and stay away from the big egos? Because sometimes you see on other teams where you get some of those egos with that success. You seem to have none of it.
Well, I wish I had some magical formula to share with everybody, but I think it just comes down to one thing. It's very simple. We just preach teamwork. We want all of our girls to be successful, and we try to put them all in situations where they are successful, whether it's on our offensive sets or our defensive sets. But the one thing that always comes first is team. Team always comes first. We preach it every day, every week, every game, and I just think our girls have bought into that system, and it's easier for the younger girls to pick up on it when the older girls are doing it year in and year out.
Well, it obviously works. Like I said, have incredible balance on that team. And your biggest star, Coach, coming into this season was, of course, Jessica Berger. She's won 2 state titles with you. She's been to 3 state tournaments, scored her 1,000th point earlier this season. And I know there was a little bit of fuss made about Jess back earlier in the season when she wasn't scoring for you back in December. How's Jess doing now?
Well, when the season began, Jess had a lot of pressure that not only did she put on herself, but probably some of it's on me too. coming off of last season, and I know she was anxious about getting her 1,000 points. And our team was struggling in the beginning of the year, and Jess put that all on herself. As our team has gotten better, everybody individually, and I'm very happy with that. Things have gotten easier for her. The load has been lifted off of her shoulders, and I think Jess is playing her best ball now. And because she's playing better and more relaxed, the girls around her are playing better and more relaxed. And like I said, we'll go back to your first question. We're actually playing as a team now versus just trying to carry the team.
Good evening, Carla. It's Brad. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brad.
Good.
Talking to you on the phone.
Yeah, how about that? This past Saturday was a great ceremony that we had over at Fort Loramie in recognizing the history of the 45-year history of the Fort Loramie girls program. And as a history teacher, I particularly enjoyed the evening and the events. But could you go ahead and take some time to explain to the viewers and listeners as far as what that was all about and your thoughts on the whole celebration, how it went?
Yeah, absolutely. About 5 years ago, we were about 2 weeks away from the end of the season, and our fantastic Fort Loramie fanatic, Julie Moeller, just said, hey, this is your 40th year of girls basketball here at Fort Loramie. And I said, okay, am I supposed to do something, So we kind of whipped up together a very small ceremony, got a little, some good feedback. All we did was we invited all the head coaches back, and then we acknowledged all the alumni in the stands. So when this season started, my coaching staff, we sat down and we decided that we wanted to do something a little bit bigger and a little bit better, and we wanted to honor, the tradition that we have here at Fort Loramie. We preach team all the time. We preach family. We want team chemistry on our team. And so we just started to put some things together, and we had close to 100 former players and coaches, head coaches, JV coaches, freshman coaches show up, and support staff, some managers and statisticians and water girls, and it was just a wonderful night. It went probably 10 times better than I thought it could, and it was really great to see everybody at the game. And then afterwards, we met at the Legion, and we had some food there for the people. And I had a great time meeting with my classmates that I played basketball with, 20 years ago. And then a lot of my former players that I haven't seen in a while were back. So it was just a wonderful celebration of Fort Loramie basketball.
Yeah, and the girls really responded too. On Saturday night, they played a great game against Miami East, and played well again last night against Russia. We got another big game coming up this Saturday. Let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. Fort Loramie hosts Anna, and obviously a big game for the rights to the Shelby County Athletic League race. And first time you played Anna back in mid-December, you got beat 46-45. What are your thoughts on moving into Saturday? What do you think we need to do differently to get a win against Anna?
Yeah, Anna has a great team. I think you guys said earlier they're ranked number 2 in Division III. They only have one loss on the year, and that first game, was a great game throughout. And in that fourth quarter, I think the lead changed probably 6-7 times. Unfortunately, we just were on the short stick when the buzzer went off, but. Obviously, one thing that we preach at Fort Loramie is defense. I think our defense needs to be better, and we're going to challenge the girls these next few days. And I think, what we didn't have the first time we played them was perimeter shooting, which we now have perimeter shooting. It's come a long way. And I think we need to take care of the ball a little bit better and make sure that we execute our plays, because each time that we get a possession, Anna plays great defense. They're in your face all the time, so we just need to make sure that when we have the ball, we take care of it and we try to get it in the hole.
Very good. Look forward to seeing that game on Saturday, and big weekend after that. Excitement on Saturday. You got another big day on Sunday, but as the tournament draw is held, we fans, everyone, we all get to find out the brackets and where things are going. But the voting process for seeding is that's all done before Sunday. Can you go ahead and explain how the whole voting and seeding process works?
Absolutely. This past Monday, so like a week beforehand, the site opens, and we're all given a password that we can log into. And what we're supposed to do between Monday and Wednesday is we need to put our records in, your complete record, and then your record against Division I, Division II, Division III, Division IV, wins and losses. And then there's a section where you can put in comments, and this is basically where you're trying to get everybody else in your sectional to understand how good your team is so you get a higher seed. Then Thursday, the site opens up again, and at that time we can go on and we can print off everybody's records and all their comments, and then you do your research, and then by Saturday we have to then vote. I think there's 13 teams in our sectional this year. you cannot vote for your home school. So I will have to see the other 12 teams from what I feel is the best down to the number 12 team. And then on Sunday, we walk into our seat is at 2 o'clock in Troy High School. And we walk into our room, and we're all given a paper. It shows how everybody voted, so you can see how everybody votes. So it's really has cleared up some undermining in the past. And based on that, they seat people, whoever has the most votes is seated 1, and the second most is seated 2. And then you go up on the board and pick where you want to play.
All right, Coach. Hey, listen, one more question and we'll let you go. But, we talked about your 45-year celebration last Saturday. One other thing you had going on was something called a Miracle Minute fundraiser for a local guy that just graduated this past year. Now, I think that fundraiser continues through this weekend. What's that all about?
Okay. This Miracle Minute, we live in such wonderful communities that are so helpful to one another. And so like with the Miami East, they had a great crowd there too. And we have a community member at Clay Ironman who, has a medical issue, and it's serious. And so everybody wants to help the family out. We're not sure how to help them out. Everybody offers the prayers, and I'm sure the closer friends are bringing food over. But there's a lot of people that still want to help out in other ways. So we have this thing called a Miracle Minute where after the JV game, they put 1 minute on the clock, and they've got the student council and some other helpers, and they run around with buckets, and they just collect as many donations as they can to help this family offset any of their medical expenses. And like I said, Miami East was wonderful in helping us out, and they're doing it again this Friday night. It's also for Clay Island again, and I just know that we're so lucky here in all the communities that we live in that we can help out, and we just want to make sure that everybody feels, that people are behind them and supporting them when they meet one of those crises.
All right, listen, Coach, that's great stuff. I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. Best of luck this Saturday against Anna. Best of luck the rest of the season, and we hope to see you soon.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time.
All right, that was Fort Loramie girls head basketball coach Carla Siegel. Like I said, someone that you work with, someone that's been very successful over there, and she's a good one.
She is. We are incredibly lucky to have her as a community member, as a coach. I've got a 5th grade daughter, and she's got Miss Siegel as a teacher. She's great. We are incredibly lucky and blessed to have Carla Siegel as a Fort Loramie Redskin. All
right, Coach. Well, listen, we got one more thing to get to, and that is tonight's poll question. So I'm going to have you read that to the viewers again, and we'll have TK and Heavy D check on our Fish Report telemetrics.
All right. Well, as a reminder, the poll question for tonight: which is the best girls or boys backyard basketball rivalry in our area? Russia Versailles, Fort Loramie Minster, Sidney Lehman, or St. Mary's Walpock?
All right, guys, let's go back to the sound room and any response on the Fish Report telemetrics, as we like to call them.
Yeah.
All right, Craig. Yeah, we do have our responses in tonight. 60% of the voters say it is the Russia Versailles rivalry. Then we've got 20 for Fort Loramie Minster and 20 for St. Mary's and Walpock.
It typically leans that way a little bit.
A history teacher, but all social science in general. I think Heavy D maybe had something to do with skewing that number, perhaps in the in the earlier conversation. But they're all great rivalries.
Frog versus frog. Green all the way around.
All right, well, listen, that's going to do it for us tonight. I do want to say special thanks to our guest, Coach Carla Siegel from Fort Loramie. Special thanks to our guest host tonight, Coach Turner. Glad to have you on with us tonight. Hope we can maybe do it again sometime.
I had a blast. That was fun, Craig.
All right, well, Ken will be back next week. Until then, everyone, we're going to talk to you next week. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Hanging at the fish report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report.